podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The Two-Footed Podcast is brought to you by EPLindex.com and our presenting sponsor, Liberty Shield. Liberty Shield is a VPN provider. A virtual privacy network allows you to go online, change your location, access things you're geo-blocked from, while keeping your data safe. So, as an example, if you are a UK expat and want access to BBC iPlayer to watch Match of the Day, or ITV Hub, or all four, will you get that message that says this content is not available in your location? A Liberty Shield VPN gets you around that block, allows you to watch whatever you want on those services, while also keeping your data safe. And it goes further than that. It allows you to open up Netflix's entire library by just changing your IP address. Liberty Shield is the #1 rated VPN provider on Trustpilot with 5-star ratings across the board. So go to libertyshield.com right now, use the code EPL25 and get either the hardware package or the software package. The hardware package is a router that you plug into your existing router, and any item you want to change the IP address on, be it your phone or your television, you connect that to the new Liberty Shield router. All other items can remain connected to your existing router. There's also a software package which is instantly downloadable to your device and you can get using straight away. Again, libertyshield.com, EPL25 for 25% off at checkout. We're also brought to you by Home of Hopcroft, a giftware and homeware company located in Scotland but shipping worldwide. Check out homeofhopcroft.co.uk and do check out the EPL Index and Anfield Index shops, which you'll find on Etsy. Use the codes EPL10 or RED10 for 10% off at checkout. And lastly, do remember to check out A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. That podcast is on this feed before every Premier League match week. And then the EPL Roundtable, hosted by Kevin DeVries, on its own EPL Roundtable feed. So just search EPL Roundtable in your podcast device. And that's out after every match week. Now, on with the show. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Tuesday. It is the 13th of August. And the football season is getting very, very close. The Premier League football season, I should say. Obviously, the EFL leagues are back. But the Premier League begins on Friday. And the countdown is on. What I thought I'd do today, given we're just under 3 weeks out from the end of this transfer window, is go through the Premier League teams and see what they might still need to do between now and August 31st. So we're going to do half before the break, half after the break, and see what we come up with. So let us begin with, we're going to go alphabetically as well, because it's just easier that way than any other way. Arsenal first. AFC Bournemouth, you do not fool me. You will be third on this list. Arsenal will be first. So we know they've signed Raya. We know they've signed Calafiori. The glaring need in their team is a number 6. You've got plenty of defensive options. You've got a plethora of number 8s. You do not have a number 6 that you can rely on. You've got Jorginho, who's injury prone and frankly not quite good enough. And you've got Thomas Partey, who's injury prone and a terrible set of lads. But to get the best out of Rice and Odegaard, who should be your 8s, you need a number 6. Somebody that can help in the first phase of build-up, but also protect your defence if you get caught in transition, so you're not overly reliant on Declan Rice's athleticism, which, you know, is impressive, but not overly special. In attack, I think they've got plenty of options. I think they could maybe use a backup for Saka just to protect him, but it doesn't seem like it's priority right now. They don't seem to have a ton of money to spend, and we know that. They've been trying to move on Reece Nelson. They've been trying to move on Eddie Nketiah, but for now, no movement on either them. Nketiah is staying after the Marseille deal fell through. He has been linked with Bournemouth, but we'll see. Nelson's a decent enough backup for Saka. If that's what your backup, if that's your forward group, Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli with Nelson, Nketiah, Jesus, and Trossard, that's a pretty strong 7. You can probably get away with that for the season. In midfield, like I say, is I think where they need to focus their cash. I would say go and get yourself that number 8. That's like that number 6. Now, they have been linked with Mikel Moreno, and I think he would be a 6 for them. And what I like about him is he can also play as an 8. So if Rice was injured for whatever or suspended, you could push Moreno to the 8 and bring in a Jorginho or a Partey for a game or 2. I think that's fine. I do think Mikel Moreno, if they get him across the line as a signing, that does make a lot of sense to them. Other than that, like, Ramsdale might leave, so potentially a backup goalkeeper. There's some reports that they've got a goalkeeper lined up from Espanyol if Ramsdale leaves. I'm not sure they're going to get the offer that they want for Ramsdale, so if they're not willing to accept a loan, he probably will stay. So I think the focus will be on that holding midfielder, and that probably will be it for them. Moving on to Aston Villa, who've obviously done quite a lot this summer. Goalkeeper, outstanding starter. I still think they need a better backup goalkeeper. I wouldn't be overly keen on any of the options they have there right now. Midfield, I think, is very, very strong after the work they've done this summer, and I think the attacking group is very strong after the work that was done this summer. The defence is where I think the focus needs to be over the remaining 2.5 weeks of the window. I think Konsa, Torres, and Ian Maatsen are 3 really good starters, especially if Konsa is the right back. I would look for a centre-back, but it does appear like Gertrude might be the player they bring in. So Gertrude right back, Konsa and Torres in the middle, with Maatsen on the left, is still a strong defence. It is still a strong defence. Fulham obviously being linked with Diego Carlos. Ornstein reporting today that they're actually making a second bid for Joachim Andersen. If I was Villa, I might be inclined to go and try and get Joachim Andersen. If there's a chance to get him, sell Carlos to Fulham at the same time and come out with a better defender who's a few years younger and only spend maybe 15 million on it. Konsa, Andersen and Torres with Maatsen, that's a defence I do like the sound of. That's something I do think works. And I think Anderson's ball playing with Torres' ball playing would give them really good progression from that defence. So we'll see what they do. The Gertrude deal looks like the one they might push ahead with. And he's a solid player, but I do think they could do better. Outside of that, backup goalkeeper, I think, is something that they'll have to look to address, because I'm just not overly keen on the idea of Robin Olsen if Emi Martinez misses some games. Right, let's move ourselves along to AFC Bournemouth, who have completed their second signing of the summer, bringing in Arejo from Barcelona to compete at right back with Max Aarons. They've obviously signed more than 2 players, him and Huijsen. Actually, they signed Daniel Jebbison and Poulsen, so it's their 4th signing of the summer. The Unal and Sinistera deals I don't count because they're foldovers from last season. I like the squad, but they've lost Solanke, and that's massive. So that's something that they have to address. And they have to address it quite quickly. I would say goalkeeper, definitely. Starting goalkeeper. Wouldn't be a fan of any of the keepers they have on their books. Though I don't know much about this young keeper that they've signed, Poulsen. But I'm guessing someone coming from Wellington Phoenix in the Australian A-League is not quite going to be ready to jump straight into the Premier League. I could be wrong, and it'd be fantastic if I was. It'd be great if he comes over and he's good enough. But it's a big, big jump. And I like the A-League. When I lived in Oz, I watched a ton of it. I used to go to Perth Glory games. I've still kept an eye on it. I think it's actually an underrated league. I think there's some very good players in it. I think there's dross in it, but there's some very good players there. And there's some teams that play wonderful football. It's an enjoyable league for sure. I feel like they're going to need a goalkeeper. The defense I quite like. Young is the issue. I'd maybe want one more experienced centre-back to come in. I think that might be something that's worth looking at. Like, you look at the defenders, the central defenders, you've got Huijsen, Sinisi, Meffam, who looks like he's going to go. Hill, who's young and inexperienced, but I do quite like. Zabarny, who's very young. Owen Bevan, who's very young. Like, it's 5 centre-backs, but 4 of them are really young, and I think Bevan probably goes on loan this year. So I'd probably want one more old head centre-back. Priority would be a right footer because you've got Sinisi as a left-footed experienced backup. I'm not even sure who. Like, if you could find, let's think. I wonder. Now, this guy struggled in the Premier League last season, but I wouldn't be against even going and getting a Joe Worrell and bringing him in. You know, a Joe Worrell might make some sense because he is available. So maybe going and getting someone like him to come in if Meffam is leaving, I think it's a slight upgrade. I think that could be something that works. Midfield, I like the group. Obviously, big question marks over Tyler Adams' fitness, but if he's good to go, he's really good. You've got Ryan Christie. It looks like you're going to keep hold of Philip Billing, who had been potentially linked with the move away. Gavin Kilkenny, maybe he sticks around this season and gets an opportunity. Alex Scott can play in the double pivot. I think they're going to be good in midfield and good in the 10, especially if they keep Hamid Traore around for depth. They've got a lot of good young wide players. They need a striker. That's the be-all and the end-all of it, is they need a striker. Unal is a good backup. I like Jebison as a long-term development piece, but you've got to go and get a striker. So goalkeeper and striker and a depth centre-back, if you can get someone, like I say, Joe Worrell would be fine. You're only looking for him to maybe play 4 or 5 times in the league for you. It's just to have that experienced backup behind Zabarny who can step in when you need him to. That's it. Maybe they'll feel James Hill is up to it. I'd still want to have 5. But again, maybe they feel like they'll just keep Bevan around and he'll be the 5th one and they'll just run with that. Maybe that's the plan. Who knows? But it would be 3rd on the list for me. Striker, goalkeeper, and then that centre-back. Moving on to Brentford. So they've brought in Igor Thiago. They've brought in Fabio Carvalho. Haven't lost anybody of note yet. Obviously, they sold Raya, but that was done last summer. Strakosha left, so they got a little bit weaker in goal in terms of depth. I'm not massively keen on Mark Flecken, but I do think he starts the season again and they run with him. Don't know much about this backup goalkeeper, Valdimirson, the Icelandic fella, but I know that they're quite high on him. I still think they need a right back, and I will continue to bang that drum that they need a right back. You go right back and Henry left back, and then Hickey rotates between the two, and you manage their games carefully. Collins, Ayer, me, Jorgensen, Pinnock. I would want a centre-back with that group. I really would. There's 3 of them over 30. Another who's quite injury-prone in Ayer. Another in Collins who's still young and inconsistent. So I would want a centre-back. Centre-back and right-back, I think you've got to go and address. In midfield, it's clear they're trying to add one. The Cahoose deal fell apart for them, but they're clearly trying to add in midfield, which I think is good. And look, I think the attack is good to go if Tony sticks around. I know he's got a year left, and look, they might just have to bite the bullet and say, you know what, we'll just keep him. It matters more to us to keep him and stay up than sell him and potentially go down. So we'll keep him. So you've got Tony, Thiago, Sade, Vissa, Carvalho, Lewis Potter, and obviously Brian Mbomo, who, again, it looks like he's going to stay. I would say go and get yourself a right back and a centre back, and I think you're going to be fine. I do have major question marks over the manager, though. I think things have gotten stale there. Moving on, Brighton and Hove Albion. Love the goalkeeper for Bruggen. I just hope that this manager, Fabian Herzliya, sticks with him as opposed to the chopping and changing nonsense that we saw last season. Not overly keen on any of their right backs, but I think if they sign Ferdi Kadioglu, he will be the right back. He's right-footed but plays left back, but I think they'll play him right back. Estupiñán left back. Like the midfield upgrades they've made with Wiefer and Yalkoi. Love what they've done in attack, bringing in Minta. And now it looks like they're going to go big again, and potentially Gruda coming in from Mainz looks like it's a pretty much done deal. Brian Gruda, super explosive winger. Not a lot of end product yet, but was in a garbage Mainz team last year. But that's a big money deal as well. And they've already made big money signings, by Brighton standards, of course, on Minta and on Wiefer. So, you know, you look at that. Is there a sale to come? Is this just the excess money that they had from last season? Maybe it is. I really like the squad, except I don't like the centre-backs. And that's where my focus would be. If you get Kadioglu and Gruda across the line, I'm guessing that means no Matt O'Reilly, and you just go with what you have in midfield, which is a decent enough group. Like, if we look at the Brighton midfield group, you've got Solly March can play anywhere. I think Billy Gilmore will leave. They've lost Grouse. They've still got Moder. You've got Baliba. You've got Hinchelwood coming back. And you've added Wiefer and Yalkoi. Now, Yalkoi might go on loan, but I think the midfield is good, especially considering it's a two-man midfield. Got loads of wingers. You've got loads of striking options. Got four, really. Jow, Ferguson, Welbeck, and Ciso can play as a 9. So you're loaded in attack with Gruda coming in. It's a little bit of overkill maybe, but they sent Osman on loan, obviously, to Feyenoord. I think centre-back and right-back are the two areas to address. My guess is the Turkish fullback comes in and plays right-back, because you've got Estupiñán at left-back. So my guess is that's what you're doing there. Unless they're maybe looking at selling Estupiñán, which could happen. He's coming off an injury-plagued season, but the year before that, he was right there with Aki as the best left-back in the league. So maybe that's what they do. But right-back and centre-back for certain. Centre-back needs addressing. Like, there's rumours now that the Mats Hummels deal is just not going to happen. Julio did not do well last year. Maybe he ticks up this season, and that's the left of the three solved. But I'd still have major question marks over the other two positions. Veltman potentially slots in on the right of the back three, but he's 32 now and he's, tipping on with injuries and stuff. Van Hecke, not for me, but, maybe he develops this season a bit more. Webster looked washed last year, and Lewis Dunk has declined significantly. I think they've got to bring in a centre-back, and I'm really, really surprised we haven't seen more links. I think centre-back and right-back for Brighton for sure. Let's move on then to Chelsea Football Club. who today have signed Cole Palmer to a new contract. He is contracted to them for 9 years. I'm not sure what purpose that solves or serves for anybody. If he continues to improve, he's going to be looking for a new contract in 2 more seasons. If he was to suffer a horrible injury, you're stuck with him. So I don't know what the point is in having these players on these stupid long contracts. They've brought in Jurgensen, and obviously that they're getting that Penders deal done. I still don't think they've got a starting keeper, but my guess is that Jurgensen or Sanchez is the goalkeeper. I don't know what the starting defence is. Anybody's guess, but they can't afford to bring in any more defenders. It's stupid how many they have. I don't know what the midfield is going to be, but they can't afford to bring in any more midfielders because they've got a stupid amount of them as it is. They've got loads of wingers, especially now with Neto in the building. And then they've got loads of 10s. They're being linked with João Felix. We'll see what happens. That's another 10. They don't have any number 9s. They've got Nicholas Jackson. They've got Brogia. They've got a bunch of kids that aren't anywhere close to ready. They don't have a 9. The best 9 at the club is Romelu Lukaku, and they won't give him an opportunity. So they need a 9. The Amor Diam deal fell through. God knows what they'll do next. They'll probably go and sign 4 17-year-olds from Brazil who'll come across in 12 and 24 months and probably end up on loan at Strasbourg. They need a number 9. That's the thing they need to address the most between now and the end of the window. And obviously they've been linked to Osimhen. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Napoli will do Osimhen on loan, and I don't think Chelsea can afford to buy him. So I think they might be in a little bit of a bind on that one. Also, the Conor Gallagher deal now looks like it might fall through, so they might be stuck with him as well, another midfielder, because they just didn't have enough of them. But striker for Chelsea. Right, Crystal Palace. I like the goalkeeping situation. It's been suggested that Sam Johnson could leave. If so, I think they'll have to bring in a backup. As things stand, I would like one more centre-back for depth. You've got Guehi, Anderson, Riyad, Richards. That's 4 for a back 3. I think you need at least one more. One more would be fine. Wing-backs, I think you're good. Munoz and Mitchell wouldn't be against a bit of depth behind them because I don't like what you've got as depth. Jeff Schlupp can play backup left wing-back. And maybe you can use Jordan Ayew as the backup right wing-back. Maybe. But I wouldn't be playing Nathaniel Klein or Joel Ward at any time soon. In the back 3, they're okay, I suppose. But I would be looking for a backup centre-back for certain. Love what they've got in midfield. I think Doucouré and Wharton is potentially a great starting pair. Ahamada, I think, will see a lot more minutes this year. Will Hughes and Lerma. That's a really good group. Really, really good group. Obviously, then they lost Elise, but they've brought in Kamada. They've kept Eze. They've got França. And they've brought in Ismail Assar. So that's pretty good. And then up top, you've got Edouard and Mateta. You've got Mateta and then Edouard. I'd probably look to move on Edouard and bring in a striker. I said before, Eddie Nketiah is somebody I'd like to see there. I think he would fit. Offers them something very different to Mateta. So for me, backup centre-back and another striking option. And I think they're in good shape. Now, of course, they may lose Guehi. They may lose Eze. We'll see. If so, they'll have to react to that. They've been linked to Carney Chukwuemeka at the moment. Doesn't necessarily fill a need, but is certainly a big-time talent and could make a lot of sense for them in the long haul. But I like the bones of this squad for certain. I think this is a very, very well-balanced squad. And obviously an excellent manager there. So they don't have a ton to do to be, I think, in the mix for that number 10 spot in the Premier League. But one more centre-back and a different option up front. Like I said, I'd move Edouard on and bring in a different option up front. If you can get me a backup right wing back, someone, young that can maybe develop behind Daniel Munoz, or Munoz, however, and be the future there, great. If not, I'm good. It's fine. Everton linked today with someone from Barcelona. The young striker, what's his name? What is his name? Vitor Roque, yeah. Vitor Roque. Highly doubt it happens, but, you never know. They brought in Eric Boonham, brought in Iliman Ndiaye, and brought in O'Brien. Pretty good business. They sold Onana, sold Dobbins, sold Godfrey. They're up in terms of profit. They've made Harrison on loan another priority and gotten that one done. They got Lindstrom in on loan as well. So I like all five of the incomings. Don't know anything about Omari Benjamin, who they've brought in on a free from Arsenal's academy. Look at the squad. You've got Pickford. I'm not a fan, but it's grand. Backup keepers. I quite like what I've seen of João Virginia. Now, obviously, he hasn't played a ton for Everton, but I did see him on loan at Cambor a couple of times last year and thought he looked solid enough. That's 2 years ago. Maybe he sticks about there. So goalkeeper, I think you're good. Right back, you'll have Patterson and early year Seamus Coleman. I think that's fine. I want to see Patterson take a step forward, though. Left back, I'd be looking to bring in a backup to Michaelenko because Ashley Young right now is slated to be the backup and he just can't play football anymore. In the middle, you've got Tarkowski, you've got Branthwaite, you've got Jake O'Brien now added into that mix. You've still got Michael Keane. You're probably fine. You could probably use one more, but given you don't overstress your defence by, playing a high line, injuries are something you can mitigate pretty easily. Plus, Michaelenko can play centre-back if need be. So bring in a backup left-back, or ideally a starting left-back who's better than Michaelenko, because I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility they could upgrade on him. My expectation then is that it's McNeil one side, Harrison the other, and maybe Lindstrom plays as the 10, but then what to do with Iliman Ndiaye? He might be the 10. Your strikers are all very similar. You're not going to buy another striker, I don't think, unless someone leaves. Maybe Calvert-Lewin goes, but I doubt it now because the Newcastle deal is off the table with them signing Asula. So I think all of that is fine. Backup left back, and then I think you've got to get one in midfield. I think you've got to bring in a starter in midfield. Because when I look at the midfield group, Idrissa Gueye is good, but he is 34, 35 now. You can't play him a ton. Eric Boonham's talented, but he's unproven. You don't know what you're going to get from Doucouré 1 week to the next. I like James Garner. I think he's a consistent presence in there. I think they need someone else like him. Do you know, I wouldn't have been against them maybe going for Billy Gilmore. I think that's a pairing that would be a little bit lightweight maybe defensively, but would have enough about them on the ball and in terms of intelligence and positioning to, I think, make it work as a pairing that's a very neat and tidy midfield, which is what Sean Dyche likes. So I do think one more in midfield is an absolute must for them. And a backup left back, like I say. Moving on then to Fulham. So, Sessegnon, Smith and Cuenca in. Definitely still need a right-footed centre-back, but they are trying to address that. Full-backs, I think they're going to be fine now. Goalkeeper is fine. You definitely need, I think, two in midfield. I think they need two in midfield. And I would also like to see them bring in a winger, a pacey winger. Two in midfield and a pacey winger for Fulham. and that centre-back. So 4 players, I think, still needed for them ahead of the new season. Ipswich, I'd like one on each line. I'd like another centre-back. I'd like a player in midfield, like a Premier League proven player, because right now they don't have any. And I'd like someone that I could reliably look at as a goal scorer. Now, that doesn't have to be a 9. It could be a wide attacker that can get you goals. But I think they need to bring in 3 more, one in each line. Another centre-back, hopefully of the Greaves calibre. Midfield and attack. I think you've got to hit all the lines. Right, I'll go to break. When we come back, we will rattle through the other 10.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Right, welcome back. So, up next on our list is Leicester City. So, they've made the Fatua deal permanent. They've signed Caleb Akoli, signed Michael Golding, and signed Bobby de Cordova-Reid, which is what created the need for a pacey winger at Fulham. They need a striker, without question, and they need a centre-back to partner Akoli because the other options they've got are not good enough. Outside of that, I'd like one more in midfield. I don't think it's priority. So I would say focus on a striker, focus on a centre-back. And they do need more depth on the wings, but it's clear they're trying to address that anyway. Klozic and Zaha being discussed at the moment. If they get one or both of them, that's really good. So after those 2, striker, centre-back, and I think they're going to be in a decent position to try and stay in the division. I do think they'll be in a decent position to try and stay in the division. Liverpool, there's no point in me going into this in depth. I've talked about it endlessly on the Daily Red. You need a 6, you need a left back. Those are the 2 priorities. Go and address them and stop fucking about. They could also do with potentially a backup right winger to give Salah some cover. But other than that, I think the squad is really good. Right back, centre back, attacking midfield options, left wing options, 9 options, goalkeeping options, all good. Starting left back, starting defensive midfielder, and then maybe a backup right back. Oh, sorry, a backup right winger. That's it. If you get the Mamardashvili deal done as well, great. If you don't, I'm not overly pushed either way. Central midfield, that defensive role, you've got to hit it. And if you don't, it's a massive failure. There's no excuse for not addressing it in this window. None at all. And then address that left back position. Manchester City. They've got a crop of centre-backs, so that's fine. Left back, they're good. I would look for a right back because Kyle Walker's 34, clearly declined significantly. I would be looking for a right back to come in and challenge him. Now, I know they've got Rico Lewis. I think he's going to be a midfielder, though. In midfield, I actually think they're good. Even if Calvin Phillips leaves, I think they're good. I would just keep Maximo Perrone around because I think he's a very, very promising young player. I think he's a big talent who could fill in for Rodri quite comfortably. You've got Kovacic and Nunes, who I expect more from this season in the other role. Bernardo can play in there, you're fine. You've got good wing options. You need a backup for Haaland. No question. Alvarez is gone. There's no one else at the club. Right back and a backup striker, and I think City are good to roll. I do. I think they've gotten worse because Alvarez is gone, but they've brought in Savinho. He's very talented, adds to a crop of wingers. Doesn't necessarily become a starter, but you've got to find cover for Haaland. So yeah, striker and a right back, and I think City are good to go. Manchester United and everything really. No, they're going to get Mazraoui. They're going to get De Ligt, even though I don't think they're the right. I like Mazraoui. De Ligt is not the right player, but they're signing a centre back and they needed one, so that's fine. You need, I think, 2 starting midfielders. I think you need 2 starting midfielders. Casemiro is well past his best, and regardless of how much you try and hype up Kobbie Mainoo, he's not ready to start in the Premier League. He just isn't. So I would be looking for 2 starting midfielders. And after that, I wouldn't do anything else. I think the attack has talent. I think you've just got to give players time. I don't like the look of the defence, but look, they're spending a ton of money on it, so away with them. I'm not keen on the goalkeeper, but they spent a fortune on him, so it is what it is. But 2 starting midfielders for me is an absolute must. The Toon, right side centre back, who can potentially play left side in the interim while Botman is out, and a starting right winger. I would like one more in midfield, but when I look at the squad, they're loaded with midfielders, so you can leave that till next summer. Right side centre back, starting right winger. If they get Mark Wehi done, and then if they were to go and buy, let's say, Noni Madeki, I think that would be a very, very good use of funds. And I think if you look at a starting 11 of Pope, Livramento, Guehi, Botman, Hall, Tonali, Gamerish, Jolington, Madeki, Isak, Gordon, with the likes of Harvey Barnes, Callum Wilson, Joe Willock, Lewis Miley, Sean Longstaff, Schär, Trippier, Byrne, Lloyd Kelly in reserve, that's a pretty strong group. Right side centre-back, right winger. I think you're good to go. Forest, they've turned in a bid for Nico Williams. They've got him and Omar Bamidele can play right back. Aina can play there as well. He can also play left back, and I think he probably will be the left back. You've got Omar Bamidele, Milenkovic, and Murillo as kind of the 3 starting options for 2 centre-back positions. And my assumption is Milenkovic and Murillo will be the starters. And that's fine. Sangaré, Anderson, Dominguez, and Danilo, plus Ryan Yates, gives you really good options in the middle of the park. Gibbs White, Anderson, again, number 10 options. You've got plenty of wingers. They're looking to bring in another attacking midfielder or a winger, the Paraguayan fella. I would look to bring in a starting left back who's an actual left back, not a right back pushed across. I still think they need a goalkeeper. I know they've brought in Carlos Miguel. I'm just not sold on him. I'm not sold on Matt Sells. I think Miguel might get there, just don't think he's there now. Not sold on Sells, not sold on Turner. Starting goalkeeper, starting left back. Even though there's issues with both strikers, Awaniyi's fitness and Wood's inconsistencies and his age, I think they're probably all right there. Emmanuel Dennis, I'm hopeful, gets an opportunity. I still think he's a good player. I wouldn't do too much more if I was them. Starting goalkeeper, starting left back. Even if the goalkeeper's Sam Johnston and on loan from Palace for a year to give you a solid presence, that's fine. Don't address left back and don't do much else, because the last 2 seasons you've blown your own seasons up by doing a bunch of deals at the end of the window and it's turned into a mess. Let's not have a repeat of that. Southampton. Obviously, they've brought in a bunch of players. I still think they need to bring in a starting goalkeeper to cover while Basunu is out. I'm not overly keen on the options they have there. Like the fullback group, assuming it stays as is, it looks like Bella Kotchap is leaving to go to Hoffenheim. So definitely would want another centre-back in the door, for certain. Would definitely want a centre-back. And a starting centre-back as well to play next to Howard Bellis. Not a squad option. A starting centre-back would be a must for me. Midfield, I think you're good. I think in Downs, Smallbone, Alcaraz, Shea Charles, that's probably enough. If you wanted to bring in, and you've got Joe Aribo can play in midfield as well. I think midfield is fine. I would definitely want a goal scorer, so I'd be looking for another striker. Even with Brereton Diaz in, I probably still want one more. I know you're going to keep, well, it looks like you're going to keep Onuachu, but he's not proven in the Premier League. Armstrong's not proven in the Premier League. Brereton's not proven in the Premier League either. I'd probably want one more wide player. So starting centre-back, starting forward, and a depth winger, and a starting goalkeeper. It's a lot, like. That's a lot to do, considering they've already brought in quite a few players. Now, they've got Juan and Wellington set to arrive in January, but they don't help for now. So I would be looking to bring in, centre-back and a forward and the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's alone. Again, maybe Sam Johnston. I'm going to have Sam Johnston at 15 different clubs by the end of this. But I do think he makes a lot of sense for them. And I think they can go and get a backup goalkeeper on loan if it's not him. Again, I mentioned it before. I would approach Brighton for Carl Rushworth. That's what I would do. I would go and try and get Rushworth in on loan for a year. Moving on to Tottenham Hotspur, they've addressed their biggest need, which is Dom Solanke. Goalkeeper's excellent. They're solid enough backup-wise. I like the right-backs. I love that they're going to give Jed Spence an opportunity as the backup right-back, so that's really good. Left side, if they keep Reguilon, Adoiji and Reguilon's really good. I would want one more centre-back, though, because I would never want to be in a position where Ben Davies is playing. So I would want a left-sided centre-back as the backup to Van de Ven, and then Davies is the fifth choice. Midfield, I think they're good. I don't think you need to do anything else. And the attack, I mean, there's a question mark over who plays the wing that's not Son. Maddison is the 9. Maddison is the 10. Solanke's the 9. Son is the left wing. The right wing is a question mark. My guess is it's going to be Brennan Johnson. And if he kicks on from last season, I think that's going to be fine. I do. I think they might be really good. I would say go and get one more depth piece at centre-back, a left footer with pace, because Van de Ven's big thing is his pace. And I think you're going to be in a really good position. I like that squad. I think it's really well balanced. West Ham United. Goalkeeper is good. Right back, I think, is now good. I'm not a huge Wan-Bissaka fan, but I think he's an upgrade. I think you've got to go and get a starting left back. Centre back, I think you're good. You've got the two new boys in, plus Mavropanos, and Agard might ill stay. Double pivot is good. Attack is good. I think a starting left back is all West Ham need to do. And I think they're going to be a good team this year. And then finally, we've got Wolves. They've lost their best centre back. They've lost their best attacker. I think you've got to go and replace Neto. You've signed a 9, that's great. You've got good options in central midfield. You've got good options at wing back. I think they need 2 starting centre backs. Because Kilman left, and I think they needed one anyway. 2 starting centre backs, a starting winger, and I would look for a goalkeeping upgrade on Jose Sa, but I don't think they will. But centre back and that Neto replacement, that's what they have to do in the next 18 days. Right, folks, back after this commercial break. Right, welcome back. So, Just a quick wrap-up with the gossip then. So Cole Palmer, like I said earlier, has signed until 2033. Julian Orejo has signed for Bournemouth as their new right-back, Mexican international, very talented player. Never got an opportunity at Barca, but I think he's talented. Wan-Bissaka has become a West Ham player, like I mentioned. What else do we have here? Dundee and Ross County have complained over Inverness fees. The Scottish Professional Football League is looking into complaints about monies owed to Dundee and Ross County by Inverness Caledonian Thistle. The unpaid fees concern the loans of Cammy Kerr and Alex Samuel. Oh, interesting. So it looks like Inverness loaned these players in on January and then didn't pay the loan fees, which they were meant to pay at the end of the season. Cali Thistle have been trying to attract a new majority shareholder. To avoid administration, last month agreed a deal with 77 Ventures. Are they related to 777? Is this some sort of spin-off? Little wonder. There's nothing to be joyous about if you're an Inverness fan right now. Your club is at risk of administration, and you're managed by Big Dunk, who's an atrocity. Arsenal have banned 24 supporters for abusive and discriminatory behaviour, including racism and assault, at the Emirates Stadium and online. 14 fans have been handed 3-year bans from home and away games, while the other 10 are banned for 1 year. Most incidents took place at the ground, but 3 were found to have been abusive online. This is fantastic. Good for Arsenal. Good for Arsenal. More clubs should follow suit. Although if Chelsea followed suit, they'd probably have no fans left. Max Kilman says he's hoping for a call-up to the England squad. I could see it happening. He's a good player. He is a good player. In the Championship last night, we did have one match, and Burnley went to Luton and absolutely wiped the floor with them. A 4-1 win. Josh Brownhill, Wilson Odebert, Tahith Chong pulled one back, but Dara O'Shea and Vitinho scoring. So let's have a look at these teams. So Luton lined up with Kaminsky in goal, Walters, Menji and Johnson, Ogbena, Baptiste, Nelson and Doughty, Morris, Adebayo and Chong. It's a pretty strong team. But then you look at this Burnley team. Trafford in goal, Roberts, O'Shea, Esteve and Perez, Cullen and Brownhill, Vitinho, Odebert and Kolyashu, and then Lyle Foster up front, with Anas Zaruri, Wout Weghorst, Luke McNally and Masengo all coming off the bench, and some good players not even in that squad. Burnley are going to be a force in the Championship this year. Like, they really are. They've kept most of their squad, if not everybody of real importance, and Kolyashu back, developing, Odebert developing. I really like the Esteve kid. I think him and O'Shea should work well as a pairing. I think that's going to be a really good Championship team. That's pretty much all of that. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid I have to break dreadful news to you. Our friend, our comrade, the source of much hilarity, Gareth Crooks is out as the Team of the Week host. And Troy Deeney is in, which is just utterly depressing. A horror show from the BBC. 10 players to watch in the Premier League this season. These are new players coming in. Calafiori, Xerxes, Savino, Fulkrug, Kamada, Bergval, O'Brien, Milinkovic, Delap, Huyton. I mean, those are pretty obvious, to be fair. Right, gossip from today. Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. is being targeted by the Saudi Pro League. He's already said he doesn't want to go. Manchester United have held internal discussions over signing Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because why not add a third striker that doesn't solve your issue? Southampton have agreed a deal to sell Armel Bella-Kotchap to Hoffenheim. Napoli have made an offer worth 21.4 million plus 4.3 million in bonuses for Romelu Lukaku. Obviously, they made it in euros, which is 25.5. But Newcastle are looking at alternative options at centre back because it looks like they're not going to get Mark Guehi. Palace are monitoring the situation around Carney Chukwuemeka. I do think that would be a really good get for them. Bournemouth have made an offer for Evan Nielsen, which was rejected by Porto. Now, that is very interesting. I do like him. That is some outside-the-box thinking. 25 goals last season. Really, really good player. He could be a very good get. We'll see if they go back from. But the Evening Standard is saying they've already switched their attention to Eddie Nketiah. We'll see if that's true. Nketiah doesn't have the all-round games. I'm not sure he's going to be a target for them. They're looking for someone to replicate what Solanke brought. Evan Nielsen made sense. Tammy Abraham could make sense. Eddie Nketiah doesn't really. Newcastle are set to target Noni Mudeki if Miguel Almiron leaves. That would be a really good signing and a really good upgrade. Liverpool have received a third bid from Red Bull Salzburg for Bobby Clark, and they have already rejected, I think, 6 million and 8 million, but this new bid is expected to be around 10 million. I think they want 12. I think they'll probably do 10 and add-ons. They'll have a sell-on, they'll have a buyback. I expect that deal to get done. Chris Meffam is expected to leave Bournemouth this summer with Ipswich, Torino and Anderlecht all interested. He's not good enough for Torino. He wouldn't be what I'd be looking for Ipswich, but he would help. Anderlecht is probably about the right level. Leicester City have reached agreement with Bayer Leverkusen over a loan with an obligation to buy for Adam Gnoslik. Let's see if that one gets done. Manchester United have reopened talks with Everton over signing Jarrett Brantwaite. They're really going to sign a third centre-back in this window? I have doubts. Football Insiders are probably crap. Manchester United are willing to let Calvin Phillips leave on loan with Ipswich, Everton and Fulham all interested, and all of them could use him. All of them could use him. He'd make a lot of sense. Nottingham Forest are closing in on the signing of Ramon Sosa. That's the Paraguayan I couldn't think of. Oh, is he a winger or is he a... Yeah, he's a winger, yeah. I thought so. From Tulare as well, £11 million. Aston Villa, Fulham and Crystal Palace are all in for Chelsea's Trevoh Chalobah. Would make a lot of sense for Fulham. But it looks like they're targeting more experienced players, but I think he'd make a lot of sense. He'd make a ton of sense for Ipswich if they could find the money for him. Ton of sense. He's been there before on loan. He did really well there. If Ipswich could find the money, that would be a really good get. Now, he might not want to go there as the issue. And finally, Tottenham striker Dane Scarlett is in talks to join Oxford United on loan. He's already made 10 appearances for Spurs. He's a very, very talented young forward. Seems to have really good movement, decent pace and a nose for goal. He's had loans at Portsmouth, Ipswich, and now this move to Oxford looks like it will go through. But he was at Ipswich last season and was there for the first half of the season. It didn't go great, but he's a very talented player. I do like the look of him. Still only 20, so strikers, you don't know really until they're a little bit older a lot of the time. Look at Harry Kane, for example. Right, folks, that's going to be me for today. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.